Things may come to those who wait, but only the things left by those who hustle. Discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. Those who deny freedom to others deserve it not for themselves. A day spent helping no one but yourself is a day wasted. You can tell the greatness of a man by what makes him angry. The trouble with too many people is they believe the realm of truth always lies within their vision. Be with a leader when he is right, stay with him when he is still right, but leave him when he is wrong. Freedom is not the right to do what we want, but what we ought. When arguing with a fool, make sure the opponent isn't doing the exact same thing. I am busily engaged in the study of the Bible. I believe it is God's word because it finds me where I am. Behind the cloud the sun is still shining. Life is hard but so very beautiful. Those who are ready to sacrifice freedom for security ultimately will lose both. It often requires more courage to dare to do right than to fear to do wrong. If you trust, you will be disappointed occasionally, but if you mistrust, you will be miserable all the time. Believing everybody is dangerous, but believing nobody is more dangerous. If this country is ever demoralized, it will come from trying to live without work. Nations do not die from invasion, they die from internal rottenness. America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves. Great men are ordinary men with extraordinary determination. The most reliable way to predict the future is to create it. Nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. You must remember that some things legally right are not morally right. Better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak out and remove all doubt. We can complain because rose bushes have thorns, or rejoice because thorn bushes have roses. Sir, my concern is not whether God is on our side, my greatest concern is to be on God's side, for God is always right. When you make it to the top, turn and reach down for the person behind you. If you have never failed, you have never lived. In the end, it's not the years in your life that count. It's the life in your years. How many legs does a dog have if you call the tail a leg? 4. Calling a tail a leg doesn't make it a leg. You cannot help the poor by destroying the rich. You cannot lift the wage earner by pulling down the wage payer. Whatever you are, be good one. What are you gonna do for a face when the baboon wants his ass back? History is not history unless it is the truth. It is a sin to be silent when it is your duty to protest. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. Every man is born an original, but sadly, most men die copies. A nation that does not honor its heroes will not long endure. I do not boast that God is on my side, I humbly pray that I am on God's side. If there is anything that links the human to the divine, it is the courage to stand by a principle when everybody else rejects it. I do not think much of a man who is not wiser today than he was yesterday. A house divided against itself cannot stand. I walk slowly, but never backwards. Violence begins where knowledge ends. You cannot escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today. A friend is one who has the same enemies as you have. The best thing about the future is that it comes one day at a time. Kindness is the only service that will stand the storm of life and not wash out. Teach the children so it will not be necessary to teach the adults. If we exchange $1, we both have $1 each. But if we exchange one good thought, we both have two good thoughts. What kills a skunk is the publicity it gives itself. Nothing is more damaging to you than to do something that you believe is wrong. Character is the tree, reputation is the shadow. Any society that takes away from those most capable and gives to the least will perish. The philosophy of the school room in one generation will be the philosophy of government in the next. Be sure you put your feet in the right place, then stand firm. Character is like a tree and reputation like a shadow. The shadow is what we think of it, the tree is the real thing. A statesman is he who thinks in the future generations, and a politician is he who thinks in the upcoming elections. 'Tis better people think you a fool, than open your mouth and erase all doubt. Tell the truth and you won't have so much to remember. The best way to destroy an enemy is to make him a friend. The strength of a nation lies in the homes of its people. Faith is not believing that God can, but that God will. There is no greater injustice than to wring your profits from the sweat of another man's brow. I'm a success today because I had a friend who believed in me and I didn't have the heart to let him down. We seek not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow those who would pervert it. You cannot fail unless you quit. Don't interfere with anything in the Constitution. That must be maintained, for it is the only safeguard of our liberties. To stand in silence when they should be protesting makes cowards of men. Commitment is what transforms a promise into reality. If you love something, set it free. I would rather be a little nobody, than to be an evil somebody. Every man's happiness is his own responsibility. Most folks are as happy as they make up their minds to be. The ballot is stronger than the bullet. Nothing in this world is impossible to a willing heart. If slavery is not wrong, nothing is wrong. There are no bad pictures, that's just how your face looks sometimes. He has a right to criticize, who has a heart to help. Two of my favorite things are sitting on my front porch smoking a pipe of sweet hemp, and playing my Hohner harmonica. His argument is as thin as the homeopathic soup that was made by oiling the shadow of a pigeon that had been starved to death. The political horizon looks dark and lowering, but the people, under Providence, will set all right. I see a very dark cloud on America's horizon, and that cloud is coming from Rome. I will prepare and someday my chance will come. You have to do your own growing no matter how tall your grandfather was. What is conservatism? Is it not the adherence to the old and tried against the new and untried? Honor is better than honors. Study the Constitution. Let it be preached from the pulpit, proclaimed in legislatures, and enforced in courts of justice. Nothing valuable can be lost by taking time. We cannot but believe that He who made the world still governs it. You can't help the poor by being one of them. All that I am, or hope to be, I owe to my angel mother. We live in the midst of alarms, Anxiety beclouds the future. We expect some new disaster with each newspaper we read. Nothing is stronger than gentleness. Let the people know the truth and the country is safe. Always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any other. If once you forfeit the confidence of your fellow citizens, you can never regain their respect and esteem. When I do good, I feel good. When I do bad, I feel bad. That's my religion. If you understand what you're doing, you're not learning anything. No man is good enough to govern another man without the other's consent. You can't make a weak man strong by making a strong man weak. Hypocrite, the man who murdered his parents, and then pleaded for mercy on the grounds that he was an orphan. Those who look for the bad in people will surely find it. The best way to get a bad law repealed is to enforce it strictly. You cannot have the right to do what is wrong. No man has a good enough memory to be a successful liar. Whenever there is a conflict between human rights and property rights, human rights must prevail. You know you've reached middle age when all you exercise is caution. Whenever I hear anyone arguing for slavery, I feel a strong impulse to see it tried on him personally. I will do what I think is right, and when I discover that it is wrong, I will change it. If I am killed, I can die by once, but to live in constant dread of it is to die over and over again. Determine that the thing can and shall be done, and then find the way. Education does not mean teaching people what they do not know. It means teaching them to behave as they do not behave. There's no honorable way to kill, no gentle way to destroy. There is nothing good in war, except its ending. Let us diligently apply the means, never doubting that a just God, in His own good time, will give us the rightful result. The people know their rights, and they are never slow to assert and maintain them when they are invaded. No country can sustain, in idleness, more than a small percentage of its numbers. The great majority must labor at something productive. Stand with anybody that stands right, stand with him while he is right, and part with him when he goes wrong. The worst thing you can do for those you love is the things they could and should do themselves. Always let your subordinates know that the honor will be all theirs if they succeed, and the blame will be yours if they fail. To ease another's heartache is to forget one's own. The probability that we may fail in the struggle ought not to deter us from the support of a cause we believe to be just. I am struggling to maintain the government, not to overthrow it. I am struggling especially to prevent others from overthrowing it. Marriage is neither heaven nor hell, it is simply purgatory. The Bible is not my book, and Christianity is not my religion. I could never give assent to the long, complicated statements of Christian dogma. Democracy is government of, by, and for the people. I have always found that mercy bears richer fruits than strict justice. Congressmen who willfully take action during wartime that damages morale and undermine the military are saboteurs and should be arrested, exiled, or hung. No man ever got lost on a straight road. Important principles may, and must, be inflexible. Let no feeling of discouragement prey upon you, and in the end you are sure to succeed. You cannot help small men by tearing down big men. I am an optimist because I don't see the point in being anything else. I would rather be assassinated than see a single star removed from the American flag. Public sentiment is everything. With public sentiment, nothing can fail. Without it, nothing can succeed. Teach hope to all, despair to none. Achievement has no color. I am not in favor of making voters or jurors of Negroes, nor of qualifying them to hold office. Leave nothing for tomorrow which can be done today. If friendship is your weakest point, then you are the strongest person in the world. Teach economy. That is one of the first and highest virtues. It begins with saving money. Don't worry when you are not recognized, but strive to be worthy of recognition. That some achieve great success is proof to all that others can achieve it as well. I don't know who my grandfather was. I am much more concerned to know what his grandson will be. Next to creating a life, the finest thing a man can do is save one. Always remember, life is for enjoying. Laughter can be used to soothe the mind and get rid of those awful thoughts. May the Almighty grant that the cause of truth, justice, and humanity shall in no wise suffer at my hands. The people will save their government, if the government itself will allow them. I have simply tried to do what seemed best each day, as each day came. If 600,000 people have to die in order for the nation to live, then 600,000 people will die. You can have anything you want, if you want it badly enough. Why don't I drink from a straw? Because straws are for suckers. We should be too big to take offense and too noble to give it. Common-looking people are the best in the world. That is the reason the Lord makes so many of them. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We can succeed only by concert. It is not, can any of us imagine better, but, can we all do better? Killing the dog does not cure the bite. Wanting to work is so rare a merit, that it should be encouraged. My great concern is not whether you have failed, but whether you are content with your failure. The written word may be man's greatest invention. It allows us to converse with the dead, the absent, and the unborn. Our attitude is more honest and more consistent than our words. When you have got an elephant by the hind legs and he is trying to run away, it's best to let him run. Our reliance is in the love of liberty which God has planted in our bosoms. A new book is like a friend that I have yet to meet. Let us renew our trust in God, and go forward without fear. The struggle of today is not altogether for today, it is for a vast future also. Most people are as happy as they want to be. The loss of enemies does not compensate for the loss of friends. The only person who is a worse liar than a faith healer is his patient. The time comes upon every public man when it is best for him to keep his lips closed. Elections belong to the people. It's their decision. But fight we must, and conquer we shall, in the end. Without the assistance of that divine being, I cannot succeed. With that assistance I cannot fail. Prosperity is the fruit of labor. It begins with saving money. Am I not destroying my enemies when I make friends of them? The fiery trials through which we pass will light us down in honor or dishonor to the latest generation. It is difficult to make a man miserable while he feels worthy of himself and claims kindred to the great God who made him. Property is the fruit of labor. Property is desirable. It is a positive good. All I have learned, I learned from books. Hold on with a bulldog grip, and chew and choke as much as possible. By all means, don't say, if I can, say, I will. It's time for me to go. But I would rather stay. Freedom is the last, best hope of earth. Seriously, I do not think I am fit for the presidency. We cannot escape history. Allow me to assure you that suspicion and jealousy never did help any man in any situation. Don't kneel to me, that is not right. You must kneel to God only, and thank Him for the liberty you will hereafter enjoy. The press has no better friend than I am, no one who is more ready to acknowledge its tremendous power for both good and evil. I am in favor of animal rights as well as human rights. That is the way of a whole human being. Half-finished work generally proves to be labor lost. It's not me who can't keep a secret. It's the people I tell that can't. I say, try. If we never try, we shall never succeed. We must not promise what we ought not, lest we be called on to perform what we cannot. I'm a slow walker, but I never walk back. The leading rule for a man of every calling is diligence. Never put off until tomorrow what you can do today. Writing is the great invention of the world. Quarrel not at all. No man resolved to make the most of himself can spare time for personal contention. Reputation is like fine china. Once broken, it's very hard to repair. No matter how much cats fight, there always seem to be plenty of kittens. That some should be rich shows that others may become rich, and, hence, is just encouragement to industry and enterprise. We shall yet acknowledge His wisdom and our own error therein. You can always lie to others and hide your actions from them, but you cannot fool yourself. If all men were just, there still would be some, though not so much, need of government. Human action can be modified to some extent, but human nature cannot be changed. Cling to liberty and right, battle for them, lead for them, die for them, if need be, and have confidence in God. My father taught me to work, he did not teach me to love it. Don't pray that God's on our side, pray that we're on His side. I don't like that man. I must get to know him better. Republicans are for both the men and the dollar, but in case of conflict the men before the dollar. I am very little inclined on any occasion to say anything unless I hope to produce some good by it. The things I want to know are in books. My best friend is the man who'll get me a book I ain't read. One's only security in life comes from doing something uncommonly well. Avoid popularity if you would have peace. We know nothing of what will happen in future, but by the analogy of experience. Never do anything for anyone who can just as well do it themselves. With high hope for the future, no prediction is ventured. On the whole, my impression is that mercy bears richer fruits than any other attribute. The Bible says somewhere that we are desperately selfish. I think we would have discovered that fact without the Bible. I fear explanations explanatory of things explained. There's nothing good in war, except its ending. Gold is good in its place, but living, brave, patriotic men are better than gold. You are young, and I am older. You are hopeful, I am not. Enjoy life, ere it grow colder. Pluck the roses ere they rot. Be not deceived. Revolutions do not go backward. If there is anything that a man can do well, I say let him do it. Give him a chance. Destroy your enemy by making him your friend. The only assurance of our nation's safety is to lay our foundation in morality and religion. Let's have faith that right makes might, and in that faith let us, to the end, dare to do our duty as we understand it. As we keep or break the Sabbath day, we nobly save or meanly lose the last best hope by which man rises. Do not destroy that immortal emblem of humanity, the Declaration of Independence. It is a pleasure to be able to quote lines to fit any occasion. It has been my experience that folks who have no vices have very few virtues. A capacity and taste for reading gives access to whatever has already been discovered by others. I care not much for a man's religion whose dog and cat are not the better for it. When I hear a man preach, I like to see him act as if he were fighting bees. Character is like a tree, and reputation is like its shadow. He who sees cruelty and does nothing about it is himself cruel. Peace is a thing which a person must be willing to fight for. Labor is the great source from which nearly all, if not all, human comforts and necessities are drawn. What is to be, will be, and no prayers of ours can arrest the decree. No state, upon its own mere motion, can lawfully get out of the Union. Plainly, the central idea of secession is the essence of anarchy. I am in favor of a national bank, in favor of the internal improvement system and a high protective tariff. I am not concerned that you have fallen, I am concerned that you arise. You dislike the Emancipation Proclamation, and, perhaps, would have it retracted. You say it is unconstitutional. I think differently. I intend no modification of my oft-expressed wish that all men everywhere could be free. Public opinion, though often formed upon a wrong basis, yet generally has a strong underlying sense of justice. There is another old poet whose name I do not now remember who said, "Truth is the daughter of time." I can make a general in 5 minutes, but a good horse is hard to replace. It is much easier to ride a horse in the direction it is going. Our progress in degeneracy appears to me to be pretty rapid. A noble spirit embiggens the smallest men. Force is all-conquering, but its victories are short-lived. My paramount objective in this struggle is to save the Union, and is not to either save or destroy slavery. One is a majority if he is right. I have always believed that a good laugh was good for both the mental and physical digestion. Get books, sit yourself down anywhere, and go to reading them yourself. Every man is said to have his peculiar ambition. I believe that people should fight for what they believe and only what they believe. All things desirable to men are contained in the Bible. Man is not the only animal who labors, but he is the only one who improves his workmanship. You have confidence in yourself, which is valuable, if not an indispensable quality. He can compress the most words into the smallest ideas of any man I ever met. All true wisdom is found on T-shirts. We hope all danger may be overcome, but to conclude that no danger may ever arise would itself be extremely dangerous. If there is a worse place than hell, I am in it. No man is poor who has a godly mother. The way for a young man to rise is to improve himself in every way he can, never suspecting that anybody wishes to hinder him. If you would win a man to your cause, first convince him that you are his sincere friend. A prohibition law strikes a blow at the very principles upon which our government was founded. Anxiety beclouds the future. Beware of rashness, but with energy and sleepless vigilance go forward and give us victories. Our political problem now is, can we as a nation continue together permanently, forever, half slave and half free? Every person is responsible for his own looks after 40. There is no America without labor, and to fleece the one is to rob the other. Such will be a great lesson of peace, teaching men that what they cannot take by an election, neither can they take it by war. The occasion is piled high with difficulty. We must rise to the occasion. My best friend is a person who will give me a book I have not read. He who represents himself has a fool for a client. I believe the Bible is the best gift God has ever given to men. All my life I have tried to pluck a thistle and plant a flower wherever the flower would grow in thought and mind. A child is a person who is going to carry on what you have started. The fate of humanity is in his hands. I will either be America's greatest president or its last. The best way to get rid of your enemies is to make them your friends. I could not have slept tonight if I had left that helpless little creature to perish on the ground. The human mind is impelled to action, or held in rest by some power, over which the mind itself has no control. Government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. These men ask for just the same thing, fairness, and fairness only. This, so far as in my power, they, and all others, shall have. The only security a man can ever have is the ability to do a job uncommonly well. The better part of one's life consists of his friendships. The Almighty has His own purposes. God is the silent partner in all great enterprises. Towering genius disdains a beaten path. It seeks regions hitherto unexplored. I shall adopt new views as fast as they shall appear to be true views. If this is coffee, please bring me some tea, but if this is tea, please bring me some coffee. Love is the chain whereby to bind a child to its parents. I am not bound to win, but I am bound to be true. Friendship is the start for what you call love. Care for him who shall have borne the battle. All creation is a mine, and every man a miner. I remember my mother's prayers and they have always followed me. They have clung to me all my life. Labor is the true standard of value. This human struggle and scramble for office, for a way to live without work, will finally test the strength of our institutions. That everyone may receive at least a moderate education appears to be an objective of vital importance. The worst thing you can do for anyone you care about is anything that they can do on their own. With the fearful strain that is on me night and day, if I did not laugh I should die. With firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right. I do the very best I know how, the very best I can, and I mean to keep on doing so until the end. Every head should be cultivated. The purposes of the Almighty are perfect, and must prevail, though we erring mortals may fail to accurately perceive them in advance. Now I confess myself as belonging to that class in the country who contemplate slavery as a moral, social, and political evil. With malice towards none, with charity for all. As a peacemaker, the lawyer has superior opportunity of being a good man. As president, I have no eyes but constitutional eyes. I cannot see you. Almost everything, especially of governmental policy, is an inseparable compound of the two, good and evil. I laugh because I must not cry, that is all, that is all. Truth is generally the best vindication against slander. We must work earnestly in the best light He gives us. Politics, as a trade, finds most and leaves nearly all dishonest. One company can serve some of your needs all of the time, or all of your needs some of the time, but never both. Free labor has the inspiration of hope. Pure slavery has no hope. Must a government be too strong for the liberties of its people or too weak to maintain its own existence? I have never had a feeling politically that did not spring from the sentiments embodied in the Declaration of Independence. I could write shorter sermons, but when I get started I'm too lazy to stop. Money powers prey upon the nation in times of peace and conspire against it in times of adversity. As I would not be a slave, so I would not be a master. This expresses my idea of democracy. If I get 8 hours to cut a tree, I'll spend 7 hours to sharp my knife. The health you enjoy is largely your choice. Men are not flattered by being shown that there has been a difference of purpose between the Almighty and them. Friends, I agree with you in providence, but I believe in the providence of the most men, the largest purse, and the longest cannon. Lincoln called laughter the joyous, beautiful, universal evergreen of life.